Hey everyone, what's going on? This is Zach, and today we are going to talk about the restricted legendaries. In my previous video, I talked about how Reg G was just announced, and it is allowing one restricted on each team. So a lot of people are going through and deciding what restricted do you need. And so right off the bat, I want to say that I haven't tested anything yet, so I'm just going off of my base knowledge and experience with Koraidon and Miraidon from the Paldea prologue and previous gens, but like there are some new mons in it. But the first thing we got to go with is not in Scarlet and Violet. That's Xerneas, Yveltal, and Zygarde. I definitely think it had something to do with the multipliers. Imagine a Sucker Punch from a Dark Aura, Ruin, Swords of Ruin boosted, Terra Dark boosted, or Xerneas, for example, a Moonblast from a Geomancy, Fairy Aura, Terra Fairy, Beads of Ruin boosted. For these reasons, and I think Zygarde just got the short end of the stick. And I think the Core Enforcer, like the 100% form, probably would have been decent as well as like stall base. It would have done pretty well with Glamora and setting up spikes, for example. But let's talk about it. First off, Cosmog and Cosmo F tier. They are just going to be maybe thrown on a meme team here and there. Other than that, you're not going to see them. I just realized that I need the Shadow. Oh, wait, no, they're first. Base Calyrex. I could see it being used on another meme team, but F tier overall. Mewtwo, I want to say is F tier, but it does have a wide move pool and the ability to terrestrialize now, so we'll have to see how that goes. So I don't know, we'll see how the tier pulls out. Otherwise, it would probably be like an F. I want to try to do this quickly because I always record these and they end up being like 45 minutes long, and this is just going off of what I know already. So here's my hot take. Kyogre is not S tier. Right? Of course you can reset Rain, but with Mons being able to Terra to resist Water Spout, Priority, and Raging Bolt, it's gonna be hard to do that, especially if you lead Groudon Raging Bolt. You're just putting them in a situation where they're either forced to Terra, and then you can always just switch out Groudon and switch it back in as soon as they set Rain or something. So I don't think Kyogre is going to be as good as it has in previous formats, especially with how fast so many things are now, like Miraidon, for example. And it's gonna be even harder once we get to two restricteds. But we have two very powerful Sunsetters, which is going to be Koraidon and Groudon. I do think Groudon is definitely now better than Kyogre. Kyogre needed a lot of setup, but Groudon being able to not only set Sun and usually is ran slower than Kyogre, yes, you have weather, but you also have the Sun boosting Paradox Mons, which is a huge benefit to Groudon. You can put a lot of things around Groudon to take care of the things that would threaten it. So I definitely think Groudon is going to be an S tier. Koraidon, I don't know as much. I want to say yes. I know a lot of people are talking a lot of the whole Fluttermane, Chien-Pao, Koraidon, and Miraidon are all base 135. So you kind of if you want to be the fastest on the field, you kind of have to run them beneficial speed 252. I don't think that's going to be super necessary with Koraidon, but I do think it might be necessary with Miraidon, for example. And the Sun is already going to boost their attack. The Sun's going to boost Koraidon's attack. Electrotrain is going to boost Miraidon's attack. So from there, our special attack, from there you can always equip items that are going to allow them to get a speed boost. Choice Scarf, for example, could be decent on Miraidon. I know a lot of people have been testing specs because of the damage multipliers are disgusting. But maybe this might just give a reason for Raichu to come back, you know? I do think Shadow Rider is going to be S. The expanding force, the Astral Barrage, being able to Terra to get rid of those weaknesses now. Will-O-Wisp for support. You could run Snarl if you really wanted to. You can run a fairy move to go with the Terra Fairy. I believe it gets Moonblast. I know it gets Draining Kiss, which giving this thing a form of recovery is really good. And then Ice Rider is dependent on Trick Room. So for it to be good, you need to like have a good Trick Room mode, which we've seen this become very reliable with Farigiraf, for example. But I feel like people are going to be able to play around it if it does become super popular. So I don't know. I do think it's definitely better than Kyogre right now, but I don't know. I want to say S. I want to put it like I want to put the Callies next to each other, but something's just telling me that like Shadow Rider will be easier to use and be more offensive. Who do I want to go to next? Lugia. Lugia has some form of multi-scale, right, as its hidden ability, but it doesn't put up enough pressure. It wants to be a setup mon, but it just has so many weaknesses. So I feel like you could build a team around it to be successful. I feel like it really benefited with Dynamax and like proccing the weakness policy. But other than that, like I definitely think it's gonna be with Mewtwo, in all honesty. Ho-Oh doesn't have to be bad. The great thing about Ho-Oh is that it's powerful enough to work with rain teams and to check things that threaten rain teams, like a Brave Bird going into Rillaboom or something like that. But at the same time, it's one of those mons that benefits more from a too restricted format, right? And then it can also benefit from the sun, but there is a lot of other options that benefit from the sun that don't take up your restricted slot. So I want to say probably like the C tier. It's definitely better than Lugia and Mewtwo. I don't know if I want those two up there. Where do I want to go now? Terrapagos. Okay, so this is what I think is going to be interesting with Terrapagos. The biggest thing in the Blueberry Prologue was the Calm Mindset, and as we've seen, Raging Bolt with Calm Mind has been very good, very dangerous. And the thing is if you can proc the Raging Bolt to Terra into its Terra Fairy or Terra Grass or Terra Electric, whatever Terra it chooses, Terrapagos with Stellar Terra threatens it with super effective damage, right? So I think in this case, I think Terrapagos could go on these balance teams in replacing of Raging Bolt. I know that sounds crazy to say, like take that team but replace Raging Bolt, but I think that could be really good. I don't know yet if that is going to be an S tier kind of thing, right? So I'm gonna put it below Kyogre because it has to prove itself. But I think if you take that balanced composition and just switch the Raging Bolt for Terrapagos, you might be in a really good position. It's kind of one of those things like I do want to try it. Koraidon and Miraidon. Let's go there next. I think Miraidon is definitely S tier. I want to say like Sun is going to be so good. Like we've already seen Sun be so good because it enables the ancient Paradox Pokemon. But now we have Electric Terrain. Now we have a reliable way to get Electric Terrain up, which doesn't take a move. And unlike Kyogre and Groudon, these two don't conflict with each other. You could have a lead where the Sun comes out and Electric Terrain. So it's going to be very weird to see how you play against the Koraidon versus Miraidon, which we saw a lot with the Paldea Prologue. But then there's also like a whole lot more tools that can be used now. Like my thought goes to like Gouging Fire with like Heat Crash and Breaking Swipe, getting the boost, getting the speed boost. And now if you lead Koraidon, you don't need that booster energy. So you can equip another item to the Gouging Fire. So it's going to be interesting to see. Future Paradox Mons definitely get a big buff here, and we're going to have to see how that affects the metagame. But right now, like, those two go pair and pair. I will put Miraidon above Koraidon right now. But I think overall, when it comes to the Sunsetters, I think Groudon is going to get more usage than Koraidon. And that might be subject to change, but like Groudon can be bulky and offensive while dealing with Kyogre and doing the same thing that Koraidon does, enabling Paradox Mons. Giratina, I was looking at some of the stats because I forgot like some of the stat changes. It's just like, yes, you get a more offensive Giratina, but you lose the ability to carry an item. I don't think Giratina is going to be good. It could be like a setup support mon, like Will-O-Wisp, Breaking Swipe, and all that stuff. With the ball can be able to terrestrialize, but I definitely think you're going to have a hard time to justify it as your restricted slot. And that's where a lot of these mons come in. If this was a 2 restricted format, you could figure out how to complement each other. But in the 1 restricted format, like, how do you justify a Lugia, right? How do you justify these mons in the D and the F tier, you know? Honestly, I think the origin forms might be good. I do think Palkia kind of gets hurt from the speed boost that it gets in the redistributions of the origin forms, because Palkia was used as like a Trick Room setter alongside with like Groudon, like Palkia on Groudon combinations. So I think if you want to do something with Trick Room, like Palkia, like base Palkia is going to be better than Palkia Origin. But if you're going like hyper offensive, I do think like, so these could go either way. I do think like the min-maxing the shift from attack to special attack are really its defense. Its defenses, the base points from Dialga to origin form Dialga, it goes to its defenses. I think that's going to actually really benefit Dialga. I don't know if they're, you know what? Because I don't know if I can justify these being B tier Pokemon. Lunala, Shadow Shield, ability to Terra, Meteor Beam, and Trick Room. Like, this is going to be a really good mon. Solgaleo, not as much because of Solgaleo losing the Dynamax. You know, like Solgaleo was really strong in Sword and Shield, but that's because it was really easy to proc weakness policy. Clear Body is going to do well here, but I feel like Shadow Shield right now is just like a better ability. Lunala will be a Terra Hog, especially against like Chien-Pao and stuff like that. Base Necrozma. It's just a different Mewtwo. Eternatus, C tier. Really nothing to say about it. The Dragon Poison typing isn't too bad, but the weakness to Psychic, the weakness to Ground, we've seen all of those be very dominant with Lando Incarnate and then with Psy Spam and stuff. Where do I want to go next? Rayquaza, however you want to say it. People are going to try to do the Terra Normal E-Speed, and I do think that it has some benefits, right? And this could be a situation where people ran Dragonite and Entei on Chien-Pao teams, and so you would have to try to figure out which one you wanted to lead. So you could lead one of those based on what you need to deal with. Do you need to deal with Weather Setters like Groudon, Koraidon, Kyogre, Airlock with Rayquaza? Should be fine. But who do you replace? Because Dragonite can still do more damage, and then like Entei cannot be faked out. So it all depends on like what your team needs. But I do think people are going to try to run it. I do think it's going to be somewhat successful. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal compared to like Dragonite. The only benefit I could see over Dragonite is the fact that you can get rid of weather. And so especially if you're going against like certain Paradox Pokemon, like that might be really good. Zekrom, or Kyurem White and Kyurem Black. Fire Dragon is not like a bad typing. And I think the mold, it basically has like Mold Breaker, right? It's been so long since I used them. Base Kyurem. Once again, why would you use it when there's the Kyurem White and Kyurem Black? I do think the whole Terra and Turbo will be really good. It just depends on like what moves they get. Once again, I think these mons are more of a 2 restricted format one. The Kyurem White though, I feel like the Kyurem White could be good over Articuno. The only thing with Articuno is that like you can get you know, the ability to dodge some moves, but all your moves are gonna hit with its whatever, what's its ability called? Turbo Blaze. With Turbo Blaze and Terra Volt, it's kind of a bummer. Like these guys would be able to benefit from some priority moves, being able to hit through Farigiraf, for example. Do they get Ice Shard? No, they don't. I don't really know. The base 70 stats is so high though. I do think Kyurem White has some possibility for viability. I don't think so much for Kyurem Black. Dustwing and Dawnmane Necrozma. Once again, they both, I believe, sorry, it's been a while since I've used some of these restricteds that I have to like look up their base stats and their abilities. I was more of, during the restricted meta, I was more of a these 4 up here than anyone else. The base 77 speed is like really good for Trick Room. The 157 attack, like the bulk that they offer. I want to put Dawn Wings. I think Dustmane and Dawn Wings here can be pretty good. I mean, in all honesty, what is the stat difference between Lunala and, see, like Shadow Shield does it when at full health by 50%, but then Prism Armor is like 25% like overall. Less HP, I think. But it's slower. I don't know. I want to keep them both in A. Zekrom and Kyurem White. Honestly, there's a lot of good electric types, and now with Miraidon in it, like I don't see any reason to really use Zekrom besides the Mold Breaker. And Reshiram might be good with being the Fire and Dragon. It might be good with dealing with like Paradox Mons that want to abuse the sun, because it can abuse the sun as well, and also be like, you can have it handle moves pretty well, especially with Terra. Zamazenta and Zacian. This one's weird because, of course, they got nerfed where their boost is only once per game instead of every time they come in, and they also got stat decreases, which I think was like a really big nerf. But you know, their specialty moves, like not doing double damage when Dynamax, like just doing like regular damage, I think they'll just be okay. I do think Zacian still has good typing, like with the Fairy and the Steel. Base form though, not so much. With Zamazenta, it does have like Body Press now, but it got its defenses nerfed. It also gets support with like Howl and Wide Guard, but in a 1 restricted format, like you're not using your Terra for that, right? And so just to be base fighting, like I don't think is that good. You know what, in a 1 restricted meta, and then Zamazenta Crowned, that's where I'm gonna put it. I don't know. I feel like this is not as tiered as I wanted it to be, but there's about like the same amount in every group. But like I said, I also have not tested anything yet, and I will get to that after I submit this video, or upload it at least. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Am I dead wrong about something? I possibly could be. I would love to learn, and we're just gonna do that with time. So we might see before I might do another one before Reg G actually starts to talk about it. But other than that, this is the tier list. My hot take is I don't think Kyogre is going to be as good as it once was. I do think that regular Palkia, for what it usually likes to do, is going to be slightly better than Palkia Origin. And I think Kyurem White has the potential, you know? But we'll have to see. If you guys enjoyed this content, do not forget to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But that's gonna be all. Until next time, I'm Zach, and we'll see everyone later.